that use a single color or hue, and sometimes that can include black and white in addition to that single color. Now, monochromatic designs are great for things like logos and advertisements, designs that are going to use a single ink. But you can also create really effective, moody designs using photos that are monochromatic. And there's a couple of different ways to make your photos monochromatic. Okay, one way is to apply a photo filter over your picture. And you can use a program such as Photoshop to do this. I'm just going down to the adjustment layers and I'm throwing the photo filter over my picture. Increase the density all the way and wait for it to render, and see how this kind of creates a monochromatic type of feeling. And you can change the color very easily by clicking on this color swatch, choosing any color you want. And this feels very monochromatic. Another way to make your picture monochromatic is to use the black and white adjustment layer. And then click on the tint option. The tint option will then allow you to choose any color you want. And see, this is actually truly monochromatic, because with the photo filter, a little bit of the color from the photo was still showing through. But with the black and white option, it's only that color, right? And even, if you look at the really, really dark shadows, it's a very deep version of that hue. So a monochromatic design is using different shades and tints of that single color. Okay, a shade is a darker version of that color, and a tint is a lighter version of that color. Okay, so now let's design a monochromatic design. The best way to start out with this is to use grayscale. I'm just going to make a couple polka dots, and I'll use it on the pixels mode since I'm just going to work really fast here. So a great way to start with your design is make it in black and white and grayscale first. I'm going to make a few new layers. Choose some gray colors and making it different values. And I'll make another layer and one final gray. Okay, so now that we have this design using different values, we can now apply color to it. And there's a couple of different ways that you can do that. One way is to go down to your adjustment layers in Photoshop and select solid color. Then choose any color you want. In this case, I'm going to choose red. And then you can change the blending mode of that solid color from normal to something like color. And see, check this out. This colorizes your image. Now, the only thing it didn't colorize was black and white. But if I want that black to be a darker shade of red, I can just lower the opacity and watch what happens. Now that black is actually starting to turn kind of grayish, and so the dark red is showing through. If I want to make my background kind of a reddish color as well, I'll just make a new layer. I'll choose black. I'll use my paint bucket tool, and I'm going to use a low opacity. I'm just typing 10 onto my keyboard to get that low opacity. And then the more I click on this, the darker red my background is going to go. So maybe you just put on the color red because you weren't sure which color to use and red was just there. There's a really easy way to see what your design is going to look like in different color schemes, and that is using the hue saturation adjustment layer. So go ahead and at the bottom of your layer panel, click on the adjustment layers, look for hue saturation, and watch this. I can move my hue saturation slider around and see what this monochromatic design is going to look like with different hues. And here's a tip. If you're making a logo design for a client and you duplicate that logo 20 different ways and you show your client 20 different color variations, they're going to be impressed. They're going to think that you did a lot of work.